views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Get ready for a game changer. Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sarah will bring you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Now here's your host, Sarah Westall.
Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall, and you're listening to Conscious Business Radio on the Transformation Talk Radio Network, the best network on the planet. You should tune in if you're not a regular listener. We are growing leaps and bounds, and we recently won the International Stevie Award for Best Team. Great accomplishments, and there's great content on this network, so keep tuning in to everything that's going on here. But I want to start off with some interesting facts that I found from the Board of Innovation. You can find it too at boardofinnovation.com. Excellent website. But here's some facts that they came up with innovation facts. Okay, fact number 1, 95% of new products introduced each year fail. Oh, that's awful. Basically, companies come up with products, but they're not coming up with products that their customers want and address their needs. It's not solving a problem for their customer. It might be something fun to do, but you really need to understand what your customers need. Solving a customer's problem will result in much better results for your products. Just basic 101 of business. Fact number 2, 45% of working activities that people are paid for today can be automated by adapting current technologies. Now, this doesn't mean automating full roles. This is parts of roles, things to make you more efficient. Automating ordering processes, yes. Automating customer service, some of that stuff. I think some of that stuff is too automated. The customer calls in and can't get to a regular person. But this is about making your job more efficient and effective. So when we say automating 45% of your work, it's not getting rid of roles as much as automating parts of people's jobs. Okay, fact 3, 1 gigabyte of storage in 1993 cost over $9,000. Now it's a mere 4 cents. Can you imagine having a product that went down that much in cost? Well, you need to plan for some of that, especially if you're in that industry, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't be around anymore. Fact 4, 49% of organizations have initiatives to grow via reducing costs only. 29% have initiatives that grow via new products and services. So the question is, what's healthier? Obviously, you want to do both. You're always striving to reduce costs. Always, 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 always. But not at the expense of behaving ethically and taking care of your people. That's wrong. And you will end up taking yourself under indirectly anyways in the long run. But you should always look for ways to grow, not just by reducing costs, but also by expanding. Because if you're only reducing costs, somebody will eventually innovate around you. And that's not good. Employees average 31 hours a month in unproductive meetings. How many of you have endless meetings? So you all know what that means. Fact number 6. Now, I'm not sure what I think about this fact, but it took Slack, a team collaboration tool, only 15 months to reach a $1 billion valuation. Well, I have a lot of opinions about that because a valuation can depend on, as everybody knows, some of these companies that had no revenue had 1 billion valuations and they were way overvaluated. So even though this might be a fact that's true, you have to be careful on this. However, what I like about this is there are so many people that think small, and you need to figure out how you can think bigger. How can I think bigger and do something? Because I teach an entrepreneur class at the highly rated Carlson School at the U of M, and what I notice a lot of times is I have to work to get the students to think broader and bigger. And so it's a great example to do that. Now, the other side of that, the flip side is there's a lot of venture capitalists and people that always think big, and I think they think too big, grow too fast, and they destroy their companies that way. So it's always a double-edged sword, but most people tend to think too small. Next one, fact 7, 74% of companies believe business complexity hurts to meet goals, but only 17% believe simplification efforts are effective. Basically, simplification, people aren't good at simplifying. Obviously, if things are overcomplicated, it's going to hurt your ability to reach your goals. So you try to simplify, but if people can't think clearly, simplification doesn't work. But you can't not try. Obviously. So basically you get people in there that can think clearly and understand things without things being so mucked up in their brain. That's hard to do, but you got to find those people that are a little smarter to do some of those things. Fact number 8, only 43% of the companies at the top of Fortune 500 in 1995 made the cut in 2015. Well, that's an example of why you don't just reduce costs, but you also need to innovate with new products. You need to do it. I know 95 or 94% or 96, whatever I said at the beginning, fail, but that's because you're not finding the needs of the customers. You can't back out and say everybody fails anyways. No, for the people that are looking for the customers' needs, the success rate is much higher for innovation. Fact number 9, Google searches for the terms how to reward innovation 6.5 times more results than how to encourage innovation. So people are trying to figure out how to reward it more than they're trying to encourage it. I think people are afraid to encourage it. So we probably need to think differently about that. 10, it takes 21 times before a new type of behavior becomes a routine. Basically, to change habits, it takes you 21 times of doing so. Everybody who tries a diet, that's the downfall of most people. If you want to change your diet, even if you're healthy in general, you're not overweight, but you need to change your diet because you're eating too many Snickers bars or you're doing or you want to exercise more, you can be thin and not fit. That's not the same thing. So let's say you want to create an exercise routine every morning or every afternoon. It takes you 21 times before you turn that into a habit. So just know that you got to create healthy habits. And takes 21 times. Okay, so that's my top 10 facts of the day that I wanted to share with you. Again, that came from the boardofinnovation.com. Excellent website. Today I have a fantastic person coming. Her name is Tamra Chandler, and she is the CEO and co-founder of PeopleFirm, which is one of the Washington State's fastest growing businesses. And her company is consistently ranked as one of the top places to work, both locally in Washington State and nationally. She's won awards nationally. And they not only talk the talk, but they walk their talk. They're a company that looks to increase performance management. How can a company get better at this? And they do other things as well, but this is something that she has focused on recently because she put out a book called How Performance, let me give you the exact wording. It says How Performance Management is Killing Performance and What to Do About It. Basically, performance management is broken. We're sitting in a 1950s work environment, and that's what people are still using to manage people, but it just simply doesn't work. And simply put by a major consulting firm, they say everyone hates it. Nobody does it well, and it simply doesn't work. In fact, Deloitte has studies that they've done recently that show that only 8% of companies believe their performance management process is highly effective in driving business value, and 58% say it's not an effective use of their time. They just think it's a total waste of their time. I think that a lot of people listening can relate to that. Further, their studies point out that 75% of respondents believe performance is a key issue. Of course it is. And 89% were either in the process of changing their system or were planning to do so within the next 18 months. So we decided to bring on the guru of this stuff, Tamra Chandler, and tell us what is going on here. It's so important for us to be able to perform, but it's just not working. And those 10 facts that I said at the beginning kind of shows you some of the places that we're just not making it. We're not with so many of the Fortune 500 companies not still in that list, each decade it changes out. There's huge turnover. Obviously, there's companies that are doing it right, and there's other companies that just aren't getting it done. So she's going to share with us what she believes are the 8 fatal flaws of performance management. And she thinks it's time to leave the past behind, and these old school methods of tracking talent are just not cutting it. And she has these 8 fatal flaws to teach people what they're doing wrong, but also how to change it and how to do it better. We also talk about why a work culture based on need to know kills the urge to participate. Basically, you only tell certain people things they need to know, and it basically kills the environment. How to recruit change champions to support your revamp efforts. How to engage millennial employees, which is always difficult for us, and many other tips that she brings aboard. But we also discuss how do we implement this not only in our business enterprises, but maybe across politics, government, schools, other institutions in society, so we can thrive as a whole, as a country, as a people. How do we implement this in other groups? I mean, basically, anytime there's group people trying to get stuff done, these ideas can be implemented. So now I'm excited to introduce Tamra Chandler to the program. Hi, Tamra. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I am great. I want to talk to you about performance. You are a performance expert, and there's a lot of people not performing out there. And there's a lot of reasons. And a lot of people managing those people that aren't performing. So, yeah. So what is the latest scientific research say about motivation? Why are these people not motivated to do anything?
Well, it's funny because I think for so long, a lot of what we've been doing is focusing on the motivation techniques that really are the lesser careabouts for most people. And a lot of us in this business now really look to a lot of Daniel Pink's research, for example, that talks about autonomy and purpose and mastery being the key things that people really care about. And this is, ensuring that you're talking about a professional organization or someone who is making enough money that they're not really worrying about those basic needs that they have. Once you get past that, when you're trying to motivate people, what people really want to be part of something. That's the purpose. Am I connected? Do I feel like the work that I'm doing is contributing to something that's making a difference? They want to be known and recognized for their expertise. That's the mastery. Am I good at what I do? Yeah. Do I feel important? Do I feel like I'm successful day in and day out? And they want the autonomy. And that's a tricky one. That's one I think a lot of organizations get wrong because they think, well, does that mean we just let people run willy-nilly? Well, no, that's not what that means. What it means is we really need to give people a framework, which ties it again back to the purpose. What are we trying to accomplish and how do you contribute? But then within that framework, give people the freedom and the flexibility to understand how they bring what they're great at and make that, a reality.
So basically, we manage what, kind of at a high level, what their goals, what they're doing, not every detail of how they're doing it.
Exactly.
So what do companies and managers do now that really kills motivation?
Well, the one, you just essentially named one, and that's micromanagement. When we start to really, be looking over people's shoulders, be nitpicking, be saying, hey, you should have done it this way or that way, we really kill that inspiration, we kill the innovation, and we kind of train people to I only do what I'm told to do, right? And then later we were like, why are people only doing what we've told them to do? Well, we've kind of trained them to do that.
Because you just yelled at them for doing it a different way. Now everybody's afraid.
Exactly. And oftentimes, when you think about the purpose one, when you look across that, and we at PeopleFirm, we talk about 5 rings of high performance, and strategy is the top one. And strategy, and you look at all the research, is the number one driver of performance for an organization. And I think a lot of leaders don't understand how important it is to give people that sense of direction. Where are we going? How are they part of it? And, communicate that on an ongoing, reinforced kind of way. And that gets lost a lot. We think, they know, but they don't really know.
Well, do we do some manipulative things? Because we're kind of the culture right now is anti-management. We've really come to that. where people just don't trust, the man, as you call it.
Yeah.
And so when you do get people motivated, what happens is you can kill motivation, I think, by just giving them a glimpse that you're just manipulating them.